Hello, and welcome to Here's the Thing with Robbie and Jose, where we explore relationships through a male and female perspective. With me, as always, is the lovely Robbie.
Hello, Jose.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm well.
Good. I'm happy to see you.
Yes. Happy to see you, too. Love the shirt.
Thank
Is
you.
that oranges or peaches?
Oranges.
Oranges. All right.
Yeah.
All right. You're feeling the Hawaiian?
Yeah, well, don't call this a Hawaiian shirt. This is a summer shirt.
It's a Hawaiian shirt, but okay. You call it whatever.
Don't put me in that category of that. But before we start, I owe you an apology.
Yeah.
Our 1 year anniversary was last week, and I did not mention it.
Yeah. And I remembered. I just didn't mention it.
Well, usually I feel like it's the woman we always remember, like anniversaries. So for the listeners, we started our podcast a year ago. And so, yeah, like it's crazy how fast it's gone by.
Yeah. Yeah. And the fact that we still have a ton of topics to discuss.
This never ending topics of relationships. But yeah, so happy 1 year anniversary.
Fist bump.
Yay!
We did it. We did it.
Also, too, I bought this trail mix for us to record, but I guess we're calling anything trail mix because basically this is a bowl of chocolate.
It's got chocolate, but it's got cookies in it too, and peanuts and
But
all
isn't
kinds of other
trail
goodies.
mix, I think if it's like a healthy thing. I think we've moved away from healthy trail mix.
It's like Chex Mix, right? Isn't that what trail mix is? It's kind of basically Chex Mix.
Trail mix is, I thought it was marketed for like if you're on a hike and you
Okay.
need something to eat.
Yeah.
You got like, it's usually
like that you're doing the hike.
Yeah.
I get it.
You got raisins, you got like peanuts, you got like sunflower seeds. I don't know, whatever was in the original trail mix. Like healthy stuff. But now this is like chocolate and
Unhealthy
cookies.
trail mix. If you want to veg out, that's
Well, when I went to the store, they actually have a bunch of new types of trail mix. They had like a birthday cake one, which was basically just a bunch of cookies and cookie dough.
yeah.
And I'm
We're
like,
Americans. We like that sort of stuff.
I just don't think we should be calling it trail mix anymore. But
There's a lot of stuff that they claim is healthy for you and is not very healthy for you. So just
Dude.
FYI.
there's like a recall now on like frozen strawberries. They said they has like hepatitis in them.
Yikes.
You know, this is crazy. Okay, I'm sorry. This is a whole nother thing. But like, if I'm eating fruits and vegetables and like meat and grains and whatever, like the stuff that's good for me, I shouldn't be getting sick off of that.
Shouldn't.
But now even the healthy stuff is bad.
Yeah. I think I heard somewhere in a TikTok that even the fruits and vegetables that we eat now don't have as many vitamins and because the soil is deprived of some of the minerals. And so welcome to 2023.
I saw like these memes on it, and they're just like, when they're talking about the strawberry, the newest one, they were like, the comments were like, you never heard of no donut making anyone sick. Like basically like it's all the healthy stuff that's like sprayed with like pesticide and like all that kind of stuff that's really bad for you.
Yeah. Sorry. I mean, unless you want to go back to being a farmer. You know,
Well,
so I have grapes in my backyard.
Yeah.
And like the grasshoppers eat all the grapes, but I don't want to put pesticides and stuff because then I want to eat the
So you
grapes.
have to hurry out there before they eat it.
I don't know what to do, to be honest with you. But
I bet you there's a
eating them.
natural. What about like a vinegar spray? Like there's something natural, I'm sure. My mother does a lot of gardening. I'll have to ask her to get back with you on that part.
Please.
Today we're doing something a little bit different again. We've had some listener suggestions in the past, but this person is a friend of the pod. I wanted to give her a shout out, Catherine. Thank you, Catherine, for listening and supporting us.
Absolutely.
And Catherine and I have emailed back and forth from time to time. She's still catching up.
Yeah.
She started from the beginning. So
Did she really?
yeah, I can't remember which episode.
Did you apologize for the first episodes and how crappy the
I think
audio
I've said it
was?
on the pod before of like, hey, look, it was a little rocky. It's DIY, baby. I mean, we're still learning. So like, I think we've come a long way.
Sure, absolutely.
In regards to like
But,
quality,
yeah.
But she had written us an email the other day, and she was talking about, I guess one of the episodes she had finished listening was, you had mentioned it's difficult sometimes to be friends with me,
Yes.
like when you're trying to date.
Yes.
And so she was giving me a little bit of her backstory. So she's been happily married for 18 years. And she was explaining that before they got married, they did have friends of the opposite sex, right? But once they got married, it was like an unspoken agreement where you didn't have
that's done.
Right. Well, so, and you and I had talked about it a couple of weeks ago about being like grandfathered in, right? Like, yes. Like what's okay to like have a friend.
You and I have been friends before. Like if we ever got into a serious relationship with somebody else, right? Like that's what we mean by grandfathered in.
Yes. To clarify for anyone who didn't hear that. Right. But yeah, basically it's, if you were friends prior to your relationship or meeting your romantic partner, it's like, well, this is already my friend. It's been established, blah, blah, blah.
My ears do go up whenever I'm dating somebody new and they say, oh, my friend, and it happens to be a guy. My ears perk up because I want to say like, okay, what kind of a friend is this?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think that's probably a natural reaction.
And of course, and the first thing that comes to my mind is, have you always been friends or did this turn into a friendship after you guys dated, or how exactly did the friendship come about?
Do people really are friends with their exes?
Well, I don't know if they're actually, I guess it depends on what you mean by ex. I do have a group of friends and we're all friends now, but they used to date a long time ago in college.
Oh, okay.
So they gave it a shot and they decided, you know what, we're not good as romantic partners, but we still enjoy each other's company, so they became friends, and they've just been friends since then. So
maybe enough time has passed.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. For me, my ears perk up, and I want to know, okay, how did the friendship come about?
Yeah.
Exactly.
But she was just kind of like stating her, and it's perfectly a normal viewpoint on it. Is if you're married, you shouldn't be having friends of the opposite sex. It's kind of. I agree with her. It is typically an unspoken thing. I think we had talked about that a few weeks ago of like when you get married, you don't get to make any more new friends.
No,
like,
definitely no more new friends.
Right, not new friends.
No more new friends, but I don't know.
But it made me, this is the weird part that came out of Catherine's email is like, I never thought about it. So let me ask you, when we first met, at that time, I was in a relationship. You were already divorced at that time. So we became friends, but not to the level we are now, which was weird until after the relationship that I was in had ended, if you remember.
I do.
So I'm thinking like, was that my subconscious behavior of like not being that close to you because I was with someone? Probably so, right? Don't you get like conditioned where you wouldn't?
It could be. I don't know. You tell me.
Because we didn't like text or talk on the phone or hang out outside of work until after that relationship had ended.
No.
But was that by coincidence? Or in my mind, was I subconsciously thinking like, well, I have a boyfriend, so I shouldn't be, because that's how I feel.
It could be, but I don't know.
It's weird, right?
Well, what I will say is this: when I was married, I didn't have female friends.
Right.
So now that I think about it, I think my ex-wife, she made new male friends.
But haven't you talked about before, like it was kind of in your mind when you were married that you weren't really trying to talk to a lot of other women? Like that was just something you were doing.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure not to get myself in trouble is what I wanted.
Oh, so, okay.
So that's why I stayed away from female friends in general. So I was just like, I can't. But here's the thing. When you're at work, sometimes friendships do develop. Now, they could just be work friends, mind you, but still, you spend a lot of time with these people.
Right.
But as long as, you're right. So if as long as it's not going outside of work, then it stays within that boundary.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Right.
Once it goes outside of work, then it becomes like something else. Like, okay, now we're friends.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Well, I thought about, with Catherine saying this, it was making me think of my, I guess, double standard that I have with that, because we obviously have this friendship and I get that. Neither of us are married, but would I be okay if...
I don't see no ring on this finger.
Would I be okay if I got married and my husband had a Robbie equivalent?
Would you be okay? No,
That's
you would
what I'm
not
saying.
be okay.
I have a double standard. Like it's very hypocritical of me.
So?
And I don't want to... Like,
I mean, welcome to being a human.
I know, but like, I agree with Catherine. Like, like you probably shouldn't have. And I don't know, maybe if I did get married.
From the outside looking in, if you were evaluating two other people, you'd be like, I don't see what the problem is. But when it's you, yes, of course, it's different because it's you.
Yeah.
It's a different ball game all the way around.
So for us, if like either one of us got married, do you think that we would change a little bit of our friendship, or we continue on the same way we are now because we're grandfathered in?
I think there would have to be a certain comfort level with the other person, your partner. They would have to like meet you and really trust and feel like, okay, they're really just friends, right? Right? They would gauge that.
Yeah.
And then after that, yeah. But I mean, it's going to get altered anyways. Even my male friends, for that matter, it alters it. Because when you get in a romantic relationship, you're going to spend more time with that person.
Yeah.
That's just natural. It's just naturally going to happen. You're not always going to have as much time for your friends. That's just a natural progression. Not always, but you know, for the most part.
Yeah. Well, I actually did some research, and there are ground rules for each party. So if you are the person that has the opposite sex friend, or if I am your partner, right? So there's like certain ground rules that you should kind of like go by.
I kind of feel like we should have had this before we became our friends.
Well, we were both single at the time. So
we were. But
we were friends, but like it wasn't, it was just like work conversations. And I know you had like come to me, you had a crush on somebody. So we were exchanging like relationship advice. I know.
You brought that up, didn't you? You had
sorry.
to bring that up. I thought I'd forgotten about that. Jeez. Okay. Yeah, but that's how it started.
Yeah.
I needed advice. And I asked a guy, gave me horrible advice. And I said, no. So I really needed, and so full disclosure, even when I was young, like junior high and high school, I had female friends. I think it comes from the fact that I had two older sisters. It was just easier to talk to them because guys are going to be guys. So they don't know about feelings and stuff. They're like, dude, just go talk to her. You know, like, what's the problem? Or they'll give you some stupid advice like, forget about her, man. Just go get another.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know how guys think. I needed a female perspective. I needed the mind of a woman.
Can I put you on the spot and ask why you chose me for that question?
Because there was nobody else around.
Gee, thanks.
No.
I feel so special.
Well, again, I wasn't like trying to go out and make friends, but you were there. And I said,
I'm your friend by default, basically. Our whole friendship is built
really bad. That sounds really bad. Because we were started out as work friends, so there was other people in the dynamic.
Yeah.
So I kind of knew how you were, and I was like, okay, who can I ask? And it's at work, so you have to be very careful. And full disclosure, you didn't work in the same department I did.
Yeah.
So you were a perfect candidate because it's like, okay, she's a woman, she doesn't work in the department, and
I'm not your boss, or
you're not your boss, and you didn't like the girl anyway. So that also helped out because it was a non-bias. Because if, let's say, she was your friend or something.
At the time, I knew nothing of her. I had no opinion of her when you first came to me.
Okay.
It was only after that things were established.
Yeah.
Because secrets were revealed. So
sure. We don't want to go into that. Let's not go too much into that. But yeah, I mean, I was like lost. I was like a lost puppy. I didn't know where to go. And you just happened to be there. And I was just like, hey.
Help me.
But I remember I swore you to secrecy. And that was the only.
I did.
That was the only precondition.
And I never told anybody.
Yeah, good.
I mean, if anyone listens that knows maybe the situations, they'll know. But like, I never.
And that was a leap of faith for me. That was a leap of faith because I didn't. Well, no, it was a leap of faith because I didn't know you that well.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if you could keep a secret or like I didn't know. But I was.
What if after I was like, oh my God, Jose, tell me this.
If it would have went around the office, dude, trust me, we would not be here, and there would be no Robbie and Jose.
Right.
Here's
There's
the
no podcast. No. But one of the things, so, okay, in this scenario, I'm going to pretend it's you, right? So you are,
I'm pretending to be me?
I mean, like.
Okay, I'm Jose. Hold on. Let me get into this character. What's my backstory? Where was I born? What happened? Talk to me. Like, what's his deal? What's this guy's deal besides the long hair?
How about for this scenario, we'll be using us as the key characters. Okay. So one of the ground rules is you first have to establish the rules between you and I, basically saying when you make friends with someone of the opposite sex, you should make it very clear that there is no romantic anything. It is strictly, which we did.
Yes. Yes. Because when I initially met you, you were cold. You were very cold. So not that I was interested in it, but I was like, you were very cold. So I was like, okay, cool.
But is that because I had a boyfriend at the time?
Oh, I don't know why you were being cold and and heartless. I don't know why.
I wasn't being heartless.
You kind of were. Like, I remember I would go, because you know me, I'm chipper in the morning. And I was just like, hey, good morning. And you're like, yeah, good morning. I was like, how was your weekend?
I'm not a morning person.
Well, again, I didn't know.
Okay.
But it came off as very cold. And I remember I would like, I was like, hey, how was your weekend? What'd you do? And you're like, oh, it's fine.
I'm like, I have a boyfriend. Don't talk to me.
I mean, and I could get that, but you know, again, it wasn't like I was trying to get with you or anything. So a lot of times I would just say good morning, just out of courtesy, and then go to my desk, and then you know, like whatever. So it was a cold reception. So I had I knew it was never going to be anything because like it was really, really cold. So.
Well, I think that, and I think some women will agree with me. Like if you're in a relationship or you're married or whatever, as a woman, because we get hit on a lot. And just because we're women, there's a different, you have
Poor babies. People want you and they tell you that they want you. God, that must be horrible.
I'm saying that as women, we have to establish like, hey, buddy, like my weekend was cool, but just so you know, I'm with someone or whatever. Like we feel like we have to establish that.
Yeah,
so like what you call cold, I think I was just trying to make it clear that there was no hanky panky. I don't know. But it's fine. You know,
it worked out because I wasn't looking for anything either. I was just saying good morning.
I know, but I'm just saying, I think it set up your friendship in a good start. So basically it's establishing that. I
didn't even think we were going to be friends, period. Not even work friends, quite honestly.
Oh.
That's how cold you were. And I was just like, I get it. Perfectly fine.
I think you're exaggerating.
I am not exaggerating. Honestly, that was because I remember I met you when I moved down to the department.
Yeah.
And I remember saying hi to you and you barely acknowledged me. And
Are you talking about like the day one or day two?
Day one. And even after that,
because I remember we shared stories about like documentaries and like true crime. And we were talking about all that stuff.
I would ask you about like your weekend and you would tell me about you and your boyfriend and this, that. And it was idle chat.
Yeah.
And I tend to do that even now to this day with people I work with. But I don't know at what point we started talking about relationships. I know that was the big one where you know, I confided in you and then you helped me out or whatever. And then from there on in, we started talking about relationships.
I feel like that's a natural conversation though, because anytime I go anywhere and meet guys just randomly, parties or whatever, it always goes to relationships. I don't think it's like a romantic thing when two people of the opposite sex are talking about relationships because it's like our whole lives are relationships with everybody.
Yeah. And besides, you were way too young. You still are. You're like 10 years younger than I am. So it's just like, even if that were the case, you didn't know that about me. Obviously, you didn't know that I liked women my age. But yeah, I mean, I get it. I get it. It was weird and odd the way, because we do come from different worlds, but somehow, and this is just me, humanity and the human experience is universal across the board. And so I really needed to figure out what was going through women's brains.
Well, I'm happy that I just happened to be there by default for you. That makes me feel good.
Well, I mean, who else did I have? You remember the...
I know, but I didn't know your personal life. Like, you have friends that are females outside of that.
No, not at that time I didn't.
Oh, really?
Wait, have I ever told you about any other female friends?
Yes.
Well, yeah, when I was growing up and stuff, but like not as an adult.
What about the couple that used to be together that were college friends? You hang out with them. That's a female.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay.
And you have your
one.
friend's wife. You're friends with her. You have female friends. Okay.
But if they broke up, I don't know that I would still be her friend. I would have to pick a side. I think I would have to. Like, I would have to. I wouldn't want to because I love them both dearly. But that's a different topic.
I'm just saying,
when they divorce or they separate, then you have to pick which one of those you're going to be friends with. But yeah, I mean, yeah. So the other friend, you're right. She is a friend. Okay. But there was no, even with her too, there was no romantic anything, right?
How did you start that relationship with her? Did you establish in the very beginning that there was not?
That one happened through, we would go out to happy hour together, all of us. And actually...
So you met her through the other guy, her ex-boyfriend or whatever?
No. So I met her first. And then it was her and a couple other people from work. That's what I'm saying.
When you met her, did you guys establish that you guys are friends, but not romantically?
No. It just kind of happened. That kind of happened. And even at that, I've never hung out with just her.
Okay.
Most of the time, it's always in a group, if not all the time in a group.
Yeah.
But she is a very dear friend.
Yeah.
And she does give a different perspective, but her perspective and her viewpoints are way different than yours. They're way different.
Does that confuse you on what you should do?
It's not that it confuses me. It's just different. She brings a different dynamic to it. Sometimes, not always, but it can be a little more straightforward, almost borderlining cynical kind of thing.
And you consider me a chipper person? You just said I was cold.
No. Well, you were cold initially, and then once we became friends, it took a while with you. And again, I never thought it was going to go to the extent that it did. But yeah. For anybody that wants to know how we became friends, that's how it was. And I would have never, when I first met you, I would have never guessed that it would have turned into anything. You were cold, man. You were cold.
Stone cold killer.
You were, boy. You shot down. And I never mentioned anything because I never made a pass at you. I never did it. But you were like, just in case you're wondering, stop wondering.
But wasn't that me just establishing that from the get-go?
The boundary?
Yeah.
I suppose. Yeah, sure. If you thought that we were going to become friends, I think you were just establishing a boundary in general.
I think I have to establish boundaries with men in general.
I'm sure you do. I don't have that problem.
You don't understand.
Do not. No.
So another thing for the friends, again, we're still talking about us in this scenario, is avoid physical contact at all. So, and this is an obvious one. Don't be filling up on your friend.
No, yeah, I don't recommend
and
that.
we don't do any of that. The extent, like, I'll hug you when I see you or something. Yeah. That's it.
Well, I will say this on my buddy, guy friend, because sometimes there was a point where he got a little overweight and he had a belly, and I just love to rub his belly and be like, dude, where'd you get all this? And he just laughs. He humors me and he lets me do that. But that's about as much feeling up as I do. But he's a guy.
Yeah, so it's different.
It's like a Buddha, like rubbing the Buddha's belly. Is this what it feels like?
How do you feel about, because this just made me think of something else. Like, I've seen friends, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but sometimes you see friends of the opposite sex and they'll like kiss on the cheek when they see each other, or, you know, they'll embrace each other's hands for a moment. Like, I've seen that kind of stuff. How do you feel about that? Is that like
in Europe? I don't see that too much in the U.S. That's like a European thing, or even they do it in Mexico from time to time. But it's usually like your buddy's wife or something like that.
Okay, so is that the difference?
Yeah, because we don't do that.
Well, so you've never like kissed your friend's wife or something on the cheek when you see her?
Oh yeah, I kiss her all the time.
That's what I'm saying. So like, as long as they're married to a friend of yours, is that the caveat? Is like that's when it's okay?
Yes, because if I wouldn't do it if like, let's say they got a divorce.
Yeah.
I mean, I would still give her a hug because we do that, right? And that's a cultural thing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and maybe a peck. I don't know. It depends on how he would feel about it, to be honest with you. But, you know, in the culture that we grew up, we're all family anyway. So it's perfectly okay. As long as you're not like trying to like really hit on her.
Yeah.
And go like,
what you doing later?
Yeah. It's none of that stuff. But yeah, you know, it depends on the person. But, you know, my friends, I've already told you, I've known them for close to 40 years almost. We've known each other 38 years. So that's a long time. And I've known her for 30 some odd years. Yeah. So it's different. It depends. You got to read the room. You know what I mean? Because if I just made new couple friends, that would be different.
Yeah.
You know, like if I'm with a partner and I have a girlfriend and we're hanging out and then we meet another couple and then all of a sudden we're all that chummy and we just met, you know, 3 months ago. Don't get me wrong, we're friends, but you just want to gauge because you don't know, there might be swingers or something. I don't know.
So would it be weird if I made a new couple friend, like somewhere, and then we get together the second time and I give the husband a hug? Is that weird?
The hugs are fine. I don't mind. I don't mind hugs.
But I've never kissed another, like my friend's husband on the cheek. I've never done that.
Yeah, it's a European thing and a Mexican thing. They just do that. I don't know why. They don't see anything wrong with it. It's just part of how they greet folks. Don't know what to tell you on that.
Yeah.
You're American, and so y'all don't do that. I and again, I know I'm digressing a little bit, but when I was married, she's white, and they don't greet each other with hugs.
I think that's a family thing, though.
It might be. Because
my family was always very touchy-feely, hugging, kissing, and
there's
like
some
that.
families that don't. and I am. So
yeah.
whenever, if you're going to be my friend, I'm going to give you a hug.
Yeah.
Even with the guy friends, you know, you give the handshake and then you bring it in.
Yeah. What if they're one of those type of people that don't like physical contact? Do they establish that, I guess, in the beginning? Like, hey, I'm not trying to be rude, but I don't like to be hugged.
I haven't encountered it yet. So I don't know what to do. That would be hard. I would respect it for sure, but I don't know.
Yeah.
That's tough because there's something about, again, the rules that you're talking about, completely understandable, but there's something about the physical contact that you have just makes it that much more versus, hey, how you doing?
Oi.
Yeah, because what's the other alternative? You see each other, let's say we haven't seen each other in like weeks and whatever, and they're like, hey, how's it going? You know what I mean? It just doesn't seem right.
It feels weird.
Yeah.
So. I do hug people. I don't know if it's I get the cultural part, but my family was always huggy. And so we're just, I don't know. I carry that on to, you know, if I, whatever. Another one is don't share too much relationship issues you're having with your partner. So if I had a boyfriend and I come to you and I say, Jose, woe is me, blah, 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 right? They're saying you shouldn't do that, but I think there's exceptions to that rule. But I will say something that we probably, well, I know you shouldn't share with an opposite sex friend is any sexual things.
Okay.
So you coming to me, if you had a girlfriend and you guys were having an issue, you came to me for advice. I don't think that that's weird, but I don't know anything about your intimate behavior. Yeah. That's where the line is for me.
Yeah, well, you don't need to know.
Well, no, I don't want to know. I'm just saying
and
that
I wouldn't either because it would be gross.
But it's saying, this article is saying basically this is what you shouldn't be doing. So it's kind of a weird thing, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, I can see where because here's the thing. When you become friends with somebody, you don't really know if they just want to be friends or if they're looking to develop into something else.
Right.
So I can see where you want to set that boundary and not cross that line because now you're going into something else. But yeah, I think of you as a sister, so that would be gross.
Well, I mean, like, do you think it's weird? Do you feel any type of way if you were married and your wife had a guy friend that she would go to complain about you or talk about y'all's like marital issues?
Yeah, I wouldn't like that. I wouldn't like that at all. I mean,
that's where that double standard comes in. Like, if you do get married, does that mean that you're not going to come to me anymore for advice? Or
I think so. I would say this much: the advice that I would seek is, how can I make it better? So okay, here's the key difference. I wouldn't be complaining like, hey, my girlfriend is being this way, blah, 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 blah. I can't stand her. She doesn't let me do this, blah, blah, blah. Yes, that's not what I'm talking about. But let's just say I'm like, hey, we had an argument or whatever. I want to make it up to her. What would be something that I could do?
Okay, so you're talking about asking for advice versus just complaining.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Because the way I kind of feel about it, whatever issues you have going on with your significant other
should be personal.
Yeah, absolutely. And you should work that out and get that straightened out or whatever. And then if you want to make it up, or because that's usually what I come to ask you for. It's like, hey, I have a date. Where should I take her?
Yeah.
Or she's being this kind of way. Do you think that I'm reading too much into it? I'm overthinking it.
Yeah.
We went out and, whatever. So that's what I'm looking for whenever I come for advice.
I feel like if I had to talk about the issues, I may ask kind of like a scenario question. Like, hey, Jose, let me give you the scenario. You tell me.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, it's not saying like, oh, me and X are having this issue. It's more of like secretly asking, like, or secretly saying it. You know what I mean?
have a friend.
Yeah.
Not me.
Not me. Just to be clear, not me.
It's a friend.
Don't say, whenever you say it's a friend, I just say like, hey, let me ask you a question. Or it'll be like, you could say like, oh, well, I saw this thing on TV.
Yeah.
Let me ask you. You can make up something. But yeah, don't say, I have this friend. It's like, no, you don't. There are no friends.
But yeah, I agree. I think some of that stuff you do need to, I would say this much, especially if I'm going through something really, really difficult, sometimes some of that stuff I won't really mention it until after I get over it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I'm still trying to process it one way or the other. And so if I have a partner, nobody's going to know that partner better than me.
Yeah.
Like, obviously I have insight. So I'm only going to share whatever my side of the story and whatever I want to share. But like, and it happens sometimes, and then you have to add more details to give a little more context. You're like, well, I didn't know that. So it's kind of a moot point. But, and mind you, guys ask other guys for advice too. It doesn't mean that they give us good advice because they're not very good at it, but we do tend to ask for advice.
Yeah.
We're just looking for help. We're just looking to not screw things up.
Yeah.
And you women can actually do. I don't know why because I don't know what you're looking for. Maybe I'm just telling you why dudes do stupid stuff. And that's a lot of times.
They don't have a friend that's a girl that they can ask.
Right. And then you ask me like, why does this, why would a guy do this? And I'm like, well, do you really want to know?
Tell me the cold, hard truth.
Yeah, because here's the thing. Like, I am still a dude. And as dudes, I know exactly what they're thinking. I might not act like them, but I know what they're thinking. And everybody takes a different approach to it. So, yeah.
I have trouble sometimes relating to certain types of women. Even though I'm a woman, some things are really hard for me to understand that I'm like, I'm a woman, but I don't get it. Like, I can't explain it to you because I'm like, why would they do? I'm asking you. I'm like, why do women do this? I've asked you things in the past of like, why does a woman do this? Because I clearly don't know. It's such a weird thing. Another thing is being honest with yourself about your intentions. So if you saw a girl that you were attracted to and you're like, oh, I want to be friends with her. You're not being true to what your intentions are.
I agree.
What I'm saying?
I agree. I don't do that.
Yeah.
If I'm attracted to somebody, I cannot be their friend.
Right.
Period.
Or it's just like trying to pretend like, oh yeah, we're friends, but you secretly are like in love with this person.
Can't do it.
It's bad.
We'll never do it.
Yeah.
I did that when I was in like high school and it didn't work out and I learned my lesson and I would never, ever do that. So I usually with any, well, obviously with guys, it's a lot different because you're going to be buddies. But if it's a woman, I will make my intentions known pretty early on. Like, hey, I like you, or we're just being idle chat. Like I would say, I just want to be your friend. But again, I won't even pursue a friendship if I'm halfway attracted to them. It just won't.
How long do you usually give before you let your intentions known?
If I like her, pretty quickly. Like almost not immediately. Like, hey, baby.
So like, yeah, because I mean more of in a work scenario. Because if you met someone online, it's like it's clear what your intentions are. You're meeting someone to date. But if it was like a family friend or a coworker or something.
So if it's like a coworker, right? And I've done this before where, I met him, let's say through an event at work. And so now we're striking up the conversation. I'll kind of feel my way around and then I'll kind of talk to him because I might be mildly attracted to them. So I feel around a little bit to see if she has a boyfriend because apparently that's... That's the golden standard is like, let them know right off the bat. So that's the other thing. But then secondly, and this is where it also comes into play, you kind of get to know their personality a little bit. Because just because she's a female doesn't mean I want to be her friend either. It could be a situation where if I get to know her a little bit, it's like, I really don't like her personality.
Yeah.
I don't like what she's saying. I don't like certain things. So once I don't know, maybe about the second or third interaction with them, I kind of know. And either I'll pursue a friendship if that's the case, or I'll just back away. Or if I like her, I might say, ask her, fill the water around, like, you want to go grab some coffee or something like that. And then that's how you know one way or the other. But what I will not do, because I've done that before, is when they say, no, I'm just looking for a friend. If I'm attracted to them, I'm like, okay, appreciate it, but I can't be your friend. So...
Yeah.
Have a nice day, and I'm going to go about my business, and you go about yours, because I will not do that.
The next thing, or the last thing in this scenario, is you share with your friend how in love you are with your partner. So it's making it known. If I have a boyfriend, I'm letting you know, like, yes, I really care about my boyfriend. I'm making my feelings known about my partner instead of, because I see this a lot with men, they'll hide a lot of their marriage stuff. Because they want to appear to be single, even though we both know that they're married. It's like they don't even speak of their wife, which is weird, by the way. If you were married...
girls don't do that?
I'm not saying they don't. Okay. I'm saying but I wouldn't. Like when we met, like you knew my boyfriend, you knew things we were going to do. I told you like gifts that I got him. Like clearly you knew that I cared about this person. Sure. So there was no question. It wasn't like I was unhappy or whatever. It's like, hey, I have this great guy and I'm telling you good stories.
Yeah. I think when guys do that, especially guys, because guys tend to do that. Women do too, but but we'll stick with guys because I'm better at that. They're playing with fire, and they really don't know. That's why once you're married, I don't recommend that you make a female friend once you're married.
Yeah.
Like I don't recommend it. Do it beforehand if you're single, and if you guys can stay friends while you're single, then you should have no problem once the other person's in a relationship.
Yeah.
Because that you had a shot, and if everything was going to happen, it would have happened back then. But what happens with a guy, especially if they get married, and it's they want to feel a little excitement. It's like, oh, a pretty girl's talking to me. And don't get me wrong, I love my wife, but like there's something.
Yeah.
Women do it too. And I've seen it before. What I've noticed it with women is like, let's say there's a new guy there, and all of a sudden they're dressing a lot better, and they're wearing tighter dresses. They're not just wearing the Lululemon pants and the stretchy pants. Like, oh, okay, now she's in a dress and some heels. Like, okay, what's going on there? Like, why all of a sudden are you getting all decked out? But sometimes it's because there's a guy.
That's a good way to tell. I guess if you were married, let's say, and your wife dressed a certain way to work, and then it changed, you'd be like,
yeah. Guys do it all the time. They're like, I'm going to hit the gym. Women, y'all pick up on that so quickly. Like, wait a minute. You didn't go to the gym. Like, for the last 2 years, you've been sitting down, binge watching stuff.
Working on the spare tire that you're growing.
Now, all of a sudden, you're going to the gym. And I've heard multiple horror stories of women that say that, and I started asking them, like, when did you know or did you notice anything before it got to that point? They're like, well, he did start going to the gym a lot and this, that, and the other. And I had one lady, she was telling me that that's how it ended up happening. So he started going to the gym and he made a friend at the gym. And this guy had the stones.
He's like, hey, you need a spot?
Yeah. And this guy had the stones to bring the woman that he met at the gym to meet his wife.
Like after they were already having an affair?
I don't know if they were already having it or about to, but
here's a girl, she's so great.
Yeah, I don't know the timelines.
Oh.
But the fact that you would do that takes a tremendous amount of stones. Like I couldn't imagine being married and then just like, hey, sweetie, look at my new friend I met at the gym. Look at her. She goes to the gym, by the way. Look at her. She's
an instructor there.
Yeah, she's really nice. Of course, if my wife would have been like, dude, get the,
I'd be so mad. Like,
yeah. So, but yeah, I get it because both, and this is a perfect opportunity because when you're dating somebody or when you're married, you have to keep on dating them. You have to continue to tell them how beautiful they are. You do it a lot at the very beginning, right? You're just like goo goo gaga, and then life happens. You start going to work and you forget about that. And it's like, no, your woman is still flesh and blood. She wants to feel pretty. She wants to be admired. She wants to be desired. You have to do that. You can't just stop and be like, hey, especially if she's, put some effort into how she looks and she's looking cute and you're just like, hey, baby, what's going on? And then you just go to the TV like, come on, guy.
Yeah.
Really? You know what I mean? But I get it. People want to feel desired.
Yeah. Okay. So now we're going to switch over. So these are the ground rules for, in this scenario, I am going to be the girlfriend. Okay. So one of the ground rules is you need to consider, were you friends before, the grandfathered in thing? So if I meet you and you have your Robbie, right? If you were already friends with her, that's something that the new girlfriend, they need to consider that, right? Because
that's why it's hard being your friend. Hence why I was telling you it's hard being your friend.
But what do you say in that scenario? Do you tell your girlfriend to be like, look, I've been friends with her for a long time. I'm sorry that you feel this way, but like, I can't stop being her friend. Do you have to say that?
Sometimes.
Well, I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Yeah.
Has anyone ever made you like choose? Like,
they've never given me an ultimatum, but I've had previous girlfriends that have told me that they're uncomfortable with it.
So they're almost like they're trying to hint at you to stop.
Yeah.
And then you just say like, look, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But.
Well, yes. So put me on the spot, please, because I love this. Oh, how do I get out of this one? Let me box my way out of it here. No, it's uncomfortable because yes, they, and if they know who you are and they've seen you, sometimes they have a get up about it. And so naturally they'll go to, there was something going on prior. Only thing that I can do is I want to acknowledge your feelings because obviously feeling a certain kind of way about it, I definitely want to address it. But I also tell them this is how we became friends, and we've always been friends like this. So there is nothing else. And I'm, in this scenario, I'd be like, I'm dating you. I'm not dating her. She's a friend. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. I don't know. But I would imagine. See, here's the thing for me. I get it from their perspective. Mm-hmm. I do understand their feelings. But at the same time, what do they think is going to happen? Like, I started this new relationship with this new woman, right? She's my girlfriend. Does she really think that I'm going to start that up just to betray her with my friend? You know what I mean?
I guess they just feel like it could just be like one night, just something happens. I don't know if it's like not intentional, like you're trying to betray her, but like
I don't do sleepovers with friends anymore.
Well, I'm not sleepovers,
male or
but
females.
Like,
that's what I'm saying. I don't do that. So
well, I mean, like the podcast, for example. Like obviously, you come over here to record, so we are here, by ourselves.
Are
so
we? Because you have ghosts that are somewhere around here.
They're watching.
Yeah. So,
but I'm just saying that like it doesn't have to be a sleepover per se for like them to have some kind of like worry.
I can tell you this, and I'll say this: sleeping with your friend is going to complicate things really, really bad. Because once you do that, you might as well say goodbye to the friendship. You're done. You're toast.
Yeah.
And infidelity in general has so many consequences to it. Like, it's such a devastating thing. You think about it and it's like, oh, it's just two people having sex. It's like, no. The impact is huge across the board. And so people know you and I are friends. Like, you've met my family, you've met friends and whatnot. So doing something like that and ruining it, like, why?
Yeah.
Why would you want to do that? Like, anyways, I don't recommend it. And I'm not trying to screw anything.
Yeah.
So,
Another thing as the girlfriend is don't project any of your insecurities onto them. So studies have shown men and women can be friends successfully, just friends. It's possible. So if I have a get up about it and I'm the girlfriend, me having issues with it is just projecting my insecurity.
I didn't want to say that, but yes.
Well, I mean, that's one of the ground rules. It's like, I shouldn't be doing that.
Right. I think you need to have a conversation about it and put it all out there. And then there has to be a certain amount of trust.
Yeah.
But yeah, sure.
Yeah. So another thing is, and we've talked about this plenty of times, is me as the girlfriend, I have to know that my partner cannot be my everything.
What?
We talked about this of like marriages, like the expectation of your spouse is going to be your everything. And it's not possible. I'm not saying you should have someone of the opposite sex as a friend. I'm just saying that you need to have your own hobbies. You need to have maybe some of your own work friends. You need to have, personal relationship with your family that doesn't include your spouse. Like, you need to have those outlets instead of relying on that one person to be everything, because you're going to fail every time.
Yeah. I mean, look. So for me, it's a little bit different because I go through long stretches of being by myself. And I would say a lot of guys, aside from the really good looking ones that just, attract women left and right, the average guy will go through long stretches of being by themselves. So when you do that, there's a self-soothing kind of thing that you need to just figure out.
Yeah.
You need to figure out how to deal with your feelings. You need to figure out how to cope with stuff like that. If you're not used to that, and sometimes women aren't because they have options. Mm. So there's always going to be a guy around. Like, a girl can pick up a guy anytime. And if she's sad, she definitely can pick up a guy then for sure.
Sad.
Yeah, and the guys will pick up on that. It's like, oh,
let me buy you a drink and tell me.
Yeah, let me take you out and show you some fun.
Yeah.
So that happens, but nobody's like, if it's some poor schmo guy over there that's having a bad day, there's not a lot of women. They're like, oh, what's wrong? Unless he's super duper handsome. They're like, something's wrong with him. But as long as he keeps it over there, I don't care about that. So yeah, you can't be. I remember there's a movie, Last Boy Scout. Have you ever seen that? Anyways, Bruce Willis, and he catches his wife having an affair, and she's walking out and yelling at him. It's like, what was I supposed to do? I was lonely. And he's like, get a dog.
I mean,
but here's the point. When you're in a committed relationship, you're in a committed relationship.
Right.
So I'm not saying that you're not going to go through periods where you're going through an emotional crisis or you need to talk to somebody. I get it. But yeah, just be very careful because you're vulnerable. And when you're vulnerable, especially certain men, they will pick up on that and they will pounce on that.
And if it's your true friend, they wouldn't exploit that. So if I was going through something and I came to you, I know for a fact you would never do anything to exploit my vulnerability.
Because it's a shitty thing to do to somebody.
Right. But I mean, like, we've established a true friendship, so I'm not even worried about that because I know that wouldn't happen. Another thing is that you need to recognize your own jealousy and figure out where that comes from. So if I have a problem with it, which I don't know, maybe I need to explore because I don't really like the idea of my husband having, his own Robbie, but like, where does the jealousy come from? Why do I have that?
I don't know. Why do you have that?
I don't know.
Why would they? Infidelity is such, and again, it has so many repercussions. And one of them is that you can traumatize the other person into not trusting anybody.
Yeah.
I've seen it 1,000 times. They develop trust issues at that point. If you've been cheated on, anybody that's ever been cheated on, it's rough. Because now you have to put on a different lens and you have to look at people different. And it's like, I can't just trust anybody willy-nilly. They're going to have to show me that.
Yeah.
Right? And you're one of them, right? So it's not like you gave your friendship like immediately. It took a long time before we got to a point where we were okay with just, talking, if that makes sense. But it's a vetting thing. And I think women should definitely do that. I think it's a bad idea whenever, even married men, for instance, this happens a lot. They're married. They're having problems with their wife. They have a female coworker, and they think, "Oh, well, let me just let that woman know what's going on because I need somebody to talk to."
Yeah.
Then they start talking to them, and then something develops there, and it's just like,
right. I think that for you and I, well, for me in general, I'm a little bit more private. So, like, if I was making a new friend that was a male, I wouldn't give personal information until I felt very comfortable and I knew for sure. So our friendship in the beginning was surface level stuff. Yeah. I didn't divulge personal. I mean, when I talk about my boyfriend, that's not personal. I'm talking about like intimate things about my feelings or who I am as a person. Yeah. So I think like women, can overshare a lot, and I think we should
because you guys are used to expressing your
feelings. I know, but they need to make sure that when you're talking to a dude, it's different.
It's dangerous, is what it is. It's really dangerous. It's one of the most dangerous things that women can do. I get it. You should express your feelings, but be careful with that because you're giving them information that they could use to potentially hurt you.
Yeah.
So
another one is that you need to notice that you're making your own script, meaning that there are no rules in a relationship. So I can't come to you and say, you can't have female friends because that's just the way it is. I've made that script for myself. That doesn't mean that everybody is going to agree with it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, you may not like it, but there is no rule on having a friend of the opposite sex. So you have to be more open and understanding.
Yeah, there's just no way around it. Because, and again, I keep on thinking of if I was dating somebody and she had a guy friend, it would be tough.
But you wouldn't go to her and say, like, you can't be friends with him. I know you wouldn't.
No, because my ex-wife would do that. She would make new friends. And I would tell her I'm uncomfortable with it. And, she would tell me I don't care.
Well, I mean, but you didn't like forbid her. You're just talking about your feelings. You can't. I know, that's what I'm saying.
It's impossible. All you could do is just let them know I'm not comfortable with it. And it just so happens, like I was able to deal with it because I figured, okay, she's an adult. I have to trust her and I'm going to trust her or else I have no business being with her.
Yeah.
It just so happens that one of those friends, that's who she ended up having an affair with. But
see, people don't do it.
No, but at the same time, because I can't get mad at him because he's going to do whatever he's going to do.
He's not loyal to you.
Yeah. So for me, I think it's the responsibility lies heavily on the person that has a friend.
Yeah.
So if I'm in a relationship with somebody and they say, hey, I feel a certain kind of way or whatever about Robbie, it's like, okay, I understand. I would try to put them at ease as much as possible and then make sure that she knows everything that I'm doing whenever I'm hanging out with you or whatever, or incorporate her into it, which is also, because for me, that's what I would like to do. Me personally, and you know this, right? Because you've met one or two of my previous girlfriends. I like that. I'm not trying to hide anything. I want I want all my worlds to be in one shot. I want them to know who you are, and I want them I want a harmonious thing. I'm not like that dude that that got the girl from the gym and is like, here, because that's just a shitty thing to do.
Yeah.
For me, it's like, no, you're both part of my world, and I want you to. But again, for me, it would be like even family would also be incorporated into that.
Well, the weird thing about like for you and I, like this is my feelings on it. I know we're extremely close, but if I was in a relationship with somebody, I wouldn't be hanging out with you by yourself as opposed to this. This is like a business thing we have together, right? But other than that, but when I was single, you and I would go out for a drink or go to dinner or whatever because we're both single, we're just friends. There's still no worry, but I think that out of respect, like you said, it's on the person who's in the relationship. It's up to you to do the right thing. And in my feeling is that I wouldn't be hanging out with you at happy hour if I'm in a relationship, even though we're close. And
although women are great wingmen. They're the best. Women don't need wing women.
Yeah, you could just go to a bar by yourself.
Yeah, you're fine. But women are great wingmen.
Yeah, I have been in that scenario several times. And here's the other thing too. I know we talked about like the Friends episode a few weeks back, but like I can get along with men much easier. So my whole life, I've always had a bunch of male friends.
Yeah.
And I think that's why in my mind, it's like I do these checklists. It's like I have to establish we're just friends. You have to make these boundaries. Maybe that's why I came off as so cold. It's like my whole life has been friends with men. So,
but I think, and I will say this much too, because even the boundaries, and I don't know if this is on your list, so I apologize if I'm skipping or not. You have to also acknowledge the fact that your friend is of the opposite sex.
Right.
In other words, like if you were walking around in a bikini, that'd be a totally different thing. It's like, wait a minute, I'm still a dude.
Yeah.
I get that we're friends.
Notice no bikini.
Yeah, like I'm not gay, just so that we're clear, right? So like I'm still a guy, and you have to acknowledge that, and vice versa, right? I can't do that around.
Right, I can't be like, Jose, look at this lingerie I bought from my boyfriend.
Right. Like I don't know if that's a boundary, but it should be.
No, I mean it's
like you have to have that respect. It's like, okay, no, they're still females.
I think that falls under the don't be touching and physical. I think it's the same thing. It's like, or even talking about sexual things. I'm not going to tell you what I like sexually.
Right.
That's none of your business.
I don't want to know.
Well,
just FYI.
But the last one is
freak you are.
Cut, edit. The last one is, and this is kind of like a weird. It's you may be doing that person a favor because you're pointing out triggers that I have that I may not have known.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a weird thing. It's almost like a blessing in disguise. So if you have a Robbie and I'm the girlfriend, and I realize that I have real problems with that, that's a trigger for me for some reason. And I need to figure out why. And you're also, maybe I didn't know that I had that trigger.
Yeah.
So you're doing me a favor by you being my new boyfriend of me realizing I have a trigger with that for some reason.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
So,
and I was actually going to put a different, if I can add to that too. It don't get me wrong, like you're my friend for sure. But I think about it, I'm like, whoever her boyfriend's gonna be, the poor bastard. Because I know how you are, and I'm just like, that poor guy. He's gonna suffer a little bit.
What do you mean?
You get to know your friend. I'm not perfect. I'm sure you could point out all the stuff that you just like, oh my gosh, like, because I do stuff that annoys you, but you're friends, so you still, hang out because we don't, you know what I mean? It's a different dynamic.
So I have so many annoying traits.
Not annoying, but I was just like, man, I feel sorry for her boyfriend.
What a terrible thing to say.
Hey, he wants to be with you, so that's what he gets. I mean, if he's willing to do it, and sometimes that's part of the friendship because you have to remind your friend, like, hey, you're not perfect. Just FYI, right? You have some things that you might want to work on too. You know what I mean? So because I know your viewpoints on a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, man, that boring.
I know. I feel the same way. You tell me things. I'm like, Jose, I'm like, you got to break that habit because I'm telling you right now, if you were my boyfriend,
Right. Well, and just not in general, you could say like guys just don't like that or girls don't like that.
Yeah.
And you need to change that. But that's what you need. Before you go off and make a mistake with your girlfriend, if you get that feedback and you get it from somebody that you trust, it goes a long way because then you're like, okay, she's not just telling me that. She's not just being mean. I trust her as a friend.
Yeah.
She's telling me this for my own good.
Yeah, there's no sinister reason. I have no reason to give you bad advice.
Yeah. Maybe I'm being stubborn or maybe whatever. I'm just being Jose. Stop being Jose. And you've called me out on some of that stuff before, and that's fine. But yeah, sometimes because I know your viewpoints on a lot of different topics, and yeah, I'm just like, oof, that poor guy. I know your expectations sometimes and like what you look for in a guy and what your standard is, and I'm just like, that poor bastard.
Buyer beware.
Yes.
But I wanted to thank Catherine again. Thank you so much for supporting us. Yeah. Thank you for sending the suggestion. I think we knew we were probably going to have to talk about this at some point in time when we started the pod, because as mature people, we both understand that this dynamic can be, it's different.
It is. So, but it's I appreciate your friendship, and it's been very beneficial. And like I said, for me, for any woman I date seriously or marry or whatever, she needs to know who you are, and everything needs to be on the up and up. That's the best way to approach it. But yeah.
I've never been in a scenario where I've had a boyfriend of mine say, you can't be friends with Jose, but I would really hope I would never be in that scenario. And
just FYI though, but I've told you that if that were ever happen and it would ever, let's say you got into a serious relationship or got married, I would definitely step away and step back because I want you to be happy. I'm not trying to mess anything up.
I don't think it's any different from what I said earlier. Like if I'm in a relationship, you and I are not hanging out by ourselves outside of, work things. It's just out of respect. So if, you got married, I know that I'm going to be on the back burner more. It's like, you need to focus on your wife or your girlfriend. Like, of course, I get it.
But I think, I don't know. I will say this. Friendship is such a big part of people. And, we know now through like research and whatnot, people that are isolated, they don't do very well.
Yeah.
They just don't. It's not good for their psyche. It's not good for even just their in general health. It's if you don't have certain relationships, things don't go well for you. Yeah. They just don't. Like you shorten your life by a lot. And so I think we're social creatures and you need that sort of thing. And I've been blessed. I've had a lot of friends. I have friends that I grew up with and I have you. So like it's, you need it. You need it. So. But yeah, I get asked that question a lot. And that's why I said it's difficult because most of the time the women that I date really don't particularly care for it too much. Puts me in a bind.
I understand.
You have to navigate.
I totally get it. I ain't mad at you.
Well, good. But yeah, thank you, Catherine. Thank you. Really, really do appreciate it.
And thank you, everybody. And if you like the show, please rate, review, and subscribe.
Yeah. Send us emails if you have any questions.
Or topics.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
Thank you.
Till next time.
Bye.
Bye.